Today, justice seems to have been served to those who have been killed 4 years ago in Owo, in the church massacre, where over 50 worshippers were murdered in cold blood by terrorists. And these accused persons have been sentenced to death by hanging. Tonight, it's a major story within the legal and the security sectors, and we will be hearing from the government of Ondo State. What does this mean for people of Owo? And these for the generality of the people of Ondo. The governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, will be speaking with us tonight. We'll be getting some insight legally on what this means. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I am Seun Okinbaloye right here for you in our Abuja studio. Tonight, our nation is at a crossroads, a moment that we all need to reflect as a people. It's a moment for us to unite against politics and against all sentiments, ethnic biases or political biases. It's a moment for us to unite and come together. A lot is happening to our nation at this point. Attacks on our schools, attacks on our communities. But as a people, can we succumb to these terrorists and allow them to molest, humiliate us? No, they cannot win us. They cannot win the battle. Only if we as a people do not give up. Not giving up is for us to unite. Not giving up is for us to come in together as Christians, Muslims, and whatever faith that you hold, as APC, PDP, ADC, NDC, APGA, whatever political party that you belong to, is a moment for you to share that toga and come together as a Nigerian. Blood flows in our veins as a people, and that needs to resonate. Tonight, I'm going to be challenging everyone who is watching me to say, it's a moment for us to stand together as a Nigerian to face this terror. Whatever the government is doing or what they are not doing, let's as a people for one moment be united against politicians, against those sentiments and those dissent voices, and say, let us come together. What is our own initiative as a people in our communities, in our whatever areas that you belong? It's a time for us to unite. I'm tonight saying to you, and I challenge everyone to bring in what we call hashtag Unite Against Terror. Enough against terror on our schools, against terror on our communities, our mothers, our sisters and brothers, wherever they may be in rural communities. Whatever the government is doing, let's focus on uniting against terror. And I'm beginning the hashtag. It begins with me tonight to say hashtag Unite Against Terror. And it's good news for people of Owo, who today, perhaps 4 years ago, exactly 4 years, it descended, these terror-minded people descended on a church in the middle of a Pentecost service, killed over 40 people in cold blood. This dastardly kind of act should not go on in our country, whether in the northern region of the country and the southern part of the country. Nowhere in our country should we accommodate this kind of nonsense. And this must stop. We need to unite. Today, the court is giving a very profound statement to say these guys need to die by hanging. And that gets our attention tonight, everyone. I may be a bit emotional tonight because people who died and have lost their lives in our war. Today, our country needs to stand that those people cannot, and no one can no longer be killed in our country. And this needs our unity as a people. And so on that note, I will begin the program tonight, everyone. But before we get talking about the details of what this means, let me allow you to listen and watch your political roundup stories.
The Senate has ramped up calls for urgent action by the federal government and security agencies to secure the release of victims still being held captive following the recent abduction of students, pupils, and teachers from schools in Oyo State. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion sponsored by Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari, who drew the attention of the upper chamber to the attack, in which 46 persons, including school children and teachers, were abducted. However, lawmakers declined a proposal seeking an audit of military spending, despite growing concerns over persistent insecurity, banditry, kidnapping, and insurgency across the country. The proposal was put forward by Senator Adams Oshomole during consideration of the motion. He argued that the National Assembly had a responsibility to review the effectiveness of previous resolutions and scrutinize the utilization of resources allocated to the armed forces. The federal government has received investigative reports on the Nigerian Correctional Service with a promise to implement its recommendations in order to strengthen transparency, accountability, and rehabilitation across correctional facilities nationwide. Receiving the report in Abuja, the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, commended members of the investigative committee for their sacrifice and dedication, saying the findings will serve as a roadmap for far-reaching reforms in the correctional system. He stressed that the goal is to ensure that correctional centers operate as institutions of reformation rather than mere detention facilities. Governor Nasir Idris of Kebbi State has set up a committee to investigate the partial implementation of the 75,000 naira minimum wage for primary school teachers in the state. The decision followed a series of complaints from teachers across the state, many of whom alleged that their salaries were merely adjusted rather than reflecting the full implementation of the new minimum wage. Governor Idris announced the establishment of the committee shortly after a meeting with local government chairmen, education secretaries, directors of finance, headmasters, and teachers from the state's 21 local government areas. The Labour Party has declared the lawmaker representing Karu Kefi Kukuna Federal Constituency, Jonathan Gaza, as its governorship candidate for the 2027 general elections. The party also affirmed Mr. Labaran Maku as its candidate for the Nasarawa North by-election, slated for June the 20th, as well as candidates for the 2027 senatorial election of the zone. Convener of the Initiative for a Better and Brighter Nigeria, Mr. Isa El Buba, has declared support for the presidential ambition of the Social Democratic Party leader, Prince Adewale Adebayo, ahead of the 2027 general election, warning that Nigeria must not slide into a one-party state. Mr. El Buba made the declaration while addressing delegates at an event in Bauchi State, describing the gathering as a turning point in Nigeria's political future. Addressing party faithful, youth leaders, and delegates, El Buba congratulated the SDP for what he described as a peaceful and triumphant gathering, urging members to remain united in the quest to reposition the country.
Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. There you have it, your political roundup stories. Let me take you to our major story for tonight. So we saw 3 years after the Federal High Court today in Abuja sentenced 4 persons, which the court said they belong to the Al-Shabaab terrorist group, to death by hanging for their involvement in the deadly attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo, Ondo State, which claimed dozens of lives on the 5th of June 2022. Justice Emeka Nwite delivered the judgment earlier today after finding the defendants guilty on a 9-count terrorism charge filed by the Department of State Services on behalf of the federal government. The convicted persons were identified as Idris Abdul Malik Omeza, 25-year-old, Al-Kazim Idris, 20-year-old, Jamil Abdul Malik, 26-year-old, and Abdul Rahim Idris, 25-year-old. However, the 5th defendant, Moma Otu Abubakar, who is 47 years old, was discharged and acquitted after the court held that the prosecution failed to establish evidence linking him to the attack. In his ruling, Justice Nwite says the prosecution successfully proved its case against the 4 convicts beyond reasonable doubt, adding that the evidence before the court established their membership and active participation in the activities of the terrorist group. Let me allow you to listen to some of the lawyers who spoke after the court delivered its judgment today.
The investigation that went into the prosecution was not only forensic, it was thorough. The DSS did a very, very thorough and painstaking investigation. And it was that thorough and painstaking investigation that the trial was anchored. Therefore, the evidence adduced by the prosecution was ironclad. And so we were not surprised that the judgment came out the way it did. Now, 1st to 4th defendants had been convicted for acts of terrorism as a result of their participation in the attack of St. Francis Catholic Church on the 5th of June 2022, where over 40 worshippers who merely went to worship God were killed in cold blood. Over 100 were also injured in that attack. So we are happy because justice has been served, justice has been done to the deceased who were murdered in cold blood. Justice has been done to their family members. Justice has been done to the Owo community.
We are appealing it. I've told my Lord, even in the open court, I'm going upstairs. Yes. You brought 3 people on the same count. Then you remove one. You left others. Where is it done? If you want to carry them along, you carry them along. They came on the same charge. Carry them together. If you are release them together. So we are not comfortable, we are not satisfied. We want to test it upstairs.
All right, that is some of the moment after the court delivered its judgment and you saw the situation in the courtroom. But let me rewind to 4 years ago, 5th of June, 2022. It's as though it was like yesterday in the hearts of many, those whose family members and those whose family members have been killed, or those who are still carrying the bruise and the wound of that deadly attack on that fateful Sunday. It's a hometown of the former governor, a sitting governor at the time, Governor Keredolu, who is now late. And it was an incident that took the attention of the whole world. Let me take you to the scene of that St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo and just rewind for you to see what exactly that church looked like when these all happened. This was a gruesome killing of innocent worshippers who gathered just to call upon their God. But this was what the terrorists did to them, and their families left a lot of people crying, wailing, and left them in tears and blood. Catholic Church in Owo. On the 5th of June, that was when it all happened. A Black Sunday in Owo, we describe it. Armed attackers stormed St. Francis Catholic Church during Sunday Mass. Over 40 worshippers were killed, dozens injured in what witnesses describe as a blood-soaked scene. Attackers unleashed the explosives and gunfire in one of Nigeria's deadliest church assaults. On the 9th of June, it was a national outrage. Then Ondo Governor Rotimi Akeredolu called it a crime against humanity. Renews the mind for state police and citing limits of Amotekun calls. National Security Council links attack to ISWAP terrorist network. On the 9th of August 2022, the military said they had a breakthrough. Under the then Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, is announced the arrest of suspected masterminds. The defense headquarters claims linked to Al-Shabaab cell in Kogi State. For about 2 years or so, there was a silence, quiet about the Owo massacre. This prolonged silence, we were understanding the investigation continued. Victims, family members were demanding justice. But, well, for some reasons, under this dispensation of the DSS, we saw on the 12th of August that this particular case was brought to bear, and it began the process of prosecution of what a lot of those victims and the family members of the Owo massacre thought that all hope was lost and maybe they would never get justice or closure. But 5 suspects were arrested, and those whom we saw earlier in the picture, whom now being prosecuted and tried, and now who are now said to be guilty. They pled not guilty to 9 counts of terrorism, accused of belonging to Al-Shabaab cell operating in Kogi State. And just about 7 days later or so, the trial began. At last, a lot of people will say it's now time for them to explain their crime. The suspects were still in custody of the DSS as the trial continued, and families of the victims, human rights advocates, and security advocates were following closely on what would become of this. And that went on until today, earlier this afternoon, when the court landed its verdict. The federal court in Abuja under Justice Wite sentenced the 4 of them to death by hanging for carrying out the deadly June 5, 2022 attack. It's barely 4 years. It's 4 years exactly. It happened on the 5th of June 2022, and today the 3rd of June 2026, justice is up. Would this call it a coincidence of justice, or what exactly? And thanks to DSS, we must have probably thought that this was forgotten and swept under the carpet. These guys were arraigned in August last year, and they are being brought to book. That means that this country, we really, if we are serious, something can be done. If we join our voices, we really can fight terror. And that's why tonight I'm beginning a campaign. If you join me, everyone, let's increase the volume of our voices to say we are uniting against terror. No matter where you belong, in countries like Israel, whenever things like this happen, they unite. In the United States, it's happened to them before. People of those countries come together and unite. Unite against terror in Nigeria. It's time for us to do so. Tonight, let's take a conversation forward. I'm being joined by the governor of Ondo State, Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, who is live for us on the program. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sheil, for having me.
Thank you so much indeed. You were deputy governor when this happened. Your principal, he hails from Owo. Just 7 or so minutes from his house in Owo is where the Catholic Church, the St. Francis Catholic Church, is located. And these happened, the people, not only of Owo, Ondo State, Southwest Nigeria, Nigerian people were thrown into mourning. But 4 years later, justice has been served. Governor Ayedatiwa, how does the people of Ondo State receive this judgment of today?
Thank you, Sheil. It was really a sad day, a dark Sunday on the 5th of June 2022 when unsuspected worshippers at St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, just behind the palace of the Olowo of Owo, were attacked, explosive thrown into the church, and over about 40 people died and several scores of people got injured. And it was a sad day for us, really. I was in Akure, but on that day, my principal, the then governor, may so rest in peace, was actually in Abuja, towards the preparation for our party's Congress at the time, APC's. So he has to leave Abuja, even though he was saddled with responsibility regarding the political activity at the time in Abuja as the chairman of the Committee on Security and I think engagement. I can't remember for sure right now. As the chairman of that committee, he has to leave Abuja that same day and flew into Akure, then straight to Owo. Yes, 4 years ago, this happened. It was a sad day for all of us, and yes, some kind of, the security agencies responded as swift as they could at the time. No immediate arrest was made because the moment that heinous attack was carried out, they left immediately. But some kind of traces and intelligence were gathered at that time, and which led to some arrest immediately by Amotekun, and later the police and the DSS, everybody, they were all working together. And at the end of the day, some suspects were arrested, and they have been in the custody since then while further investigation continues. And this year, we see what has happened 4 years after thorough investigations by the investigators, and we have seen the diligence prosecuting team, what they have been able to do, and today judgment have been served, and these people have been sentenced to death by hanging. For us in Ondo State, we are happy that this judgment is victory for justice, for rule of law, and for all the victims of those that were attacked, not just in Ondo State, but all the victims that have been attacked at one time or the other by these terrorists. So it's a victory for us, and we want to use the opportunity to appreciate all the people that were involved, the security agencies, the judiciary, for their courage in prosecution. We want to thank even the media, and of course the people of Ondo State for our resilience, especially the people of Owo. They never stopped worshiping. The church has since been opened for worship, and people are moving around, going about their businesses. For us, since then, we want to thank God that any other attack of such has happened in Ondo State, because that has also helped us to be more vigilant and to be more resilient, and then engaging more with our security agencies and encourage them to collaborate, to work together so that such attack will never happen again in Ondo State. For us in Ondo State, we're happy, and we thank all the people that are involved in the investigation and prosecution, and even Mr. President for the boldness and the political will, in backing the security agencies in going ahead to engage more fiercely at this time, dealing with bandits and terrorism in our country.
Indeed, it was a sad moment for the people of Ondo State at the time and for the entire country. Governor, have you been able to speak with any of the families of the victims? How are people of Owo, how are they receiving it? Have you been able to interact with the community people? Olowo of Owo, for example, how does it feel about the judgment? Does the people in the community in Owo feel that this is the right, the justice in its weight is commensurate to the kind of crime that was committed?
Yes, the people are happy. Everybody, not just in Owo, across Ondo State, everywhere. Because the incident here, even though it happened in the city of Owo at the time, it affected everybody in Ondo State, because Owo is a major city or town, if you like, in Ondo State. So anything that happened in Ondo State, we are one, we are together. Anything that happens, especially such heinous attack that happens to one community, every other community feels it. So for us in Ondo State, we are happy that justice has been served at the end of the day, that the full weight of the law, has been meted on these people. And like I said, it's victory for every one of us. Those of us who were not even injured in the attack, those of us who are still on ground in the state, and more particularly for those families, whose members of their family were attacked, and those who lost their lives. So it's victory for everybody. So it's a thing of joy for us that at least the government have done something, and it makes us to now have more confidence in rule of law. That if we all come together, if we all work together, like you mentioned, putting politics aside, because sometimes you find out that some narratives that we hear from other quarters, that some of these things have been politicized. But if we put politics aside and we face this, the issue of terrorism squarely, everybody coming together, the security agencies, the community, the government, all of us, politicians, the ordinary citizens' participation. When you see something, say something. You don't harbor criminals. Every one of us coming together, security agencies working together. We can decimate this very, very ugly situation, this menace. It's just for all of us to come together so that we don't play politics with the lives of our people. For us, those we are happy, the people of Owo are happy. KBAC, the law of Owo, is also happy, and the people in towns. So,
it worries me, and it's such a time that this is coming. About 19 days ago or thereabout, some people in Oyo State, the Ogbomoso area, were abducted by some of these terrorists. And it just brings to mind, and the reason why you say let everybody leave politicking and whatever and come together? Because over the years, what some of the security agencies have complained is about local intelligence that would help them. When you see something, say something. And I imagine that all the security agencies, we don't have enough to go around. And that's why tonight I've started a campaign, Unite Against Terror. When you see something, say something. They went into those communities in Oyo, kidnapped students, kidnapped school teachers, principal, killed them in the captivity. And some of this narrative, we as a people, and we saw what happened in the United States, we saw what happened in Israel, how the people of those countries came together in the failure of systems in their country. But Governor Yedatua, if ISWAP, Al-Shabaab, is said to have operated in Owo, is close to home, how did they get there? What lessons have the people of Ondo State, the government of Ondo State, learned about local intelligence and how this all happened? How did Al-Shabaab operated and kill people in Ondo State? Where did they come from? How did they come? What do you know?
Well, let me say this, that nobody knew at the time the movement. All we can say at the time was that criminal activities are everywhere. You know, there are criminals everywhere. And, you know, kidnapping for ransom and just, you know, soft targets and burglary and all of that. We never experienced such attack before in Ondo State until that June 5th, 2022. So nobody knew, we just knew that, okay, so then we're facing herdsmen and farmers clash, cattle rustlers and all of that. And those ones, you can see their mode of operations. You know, they kidnap, then after few hours or a day, they call in for ransom, and once ransom is given, they release those people, the victims. But the one that happened on the 5th of June, 2022, was a different thing entirely. They did not take any money. They did not take any handset or phone, if you like, from anyone. They came in, they came to kill, to destroy. They didn't steal anything. They never stole. They came in to kill and to destroy. That was what happened. So nobody can say where they're coming from. Nobody, it was on a Sunday morning. Everybody, it's a worship day. Everybody want to go to church. You know, Sunday is very quiet. Those who do not go to church, they stay in their home. Maybe they will still be sleeping as a rest day for some of them. And those worshippers, they will dress up in the morning. They go into church at different denominations. So the city was quiet on that very day. So nobody suspected anything. But the lesson we have learned in that, just as you asked, is that since then we have been more vigilant as a people. We have been very resilient as a people. Ondo State can never be taken for granted anymore. We don't take any movement for granted. And our security agencies have been working together. The synergy among them then has improved greatly. The Amotekun, the civil defense, the police, the army, we have been working together. In fact, we have been doing profiling. We have been able to even arrest some people at different times that are coming into Ondo State from our gateways. We have instances where some people will be loaded in trucks to up to 100 or 120. They will be stopped, profiled. Some have been sent back when they don't have any forwarding address where they are going to, who they are going to visit. So a lot of work has been done since then that we cannot be mentioning here. They are all security, matters. We have done a lot, and that is why we have never experienced such terror attacks since then, apart from isolated cases of kidnapping for ransom and some other, criminal activities, which we are also working so hard to curtail. And our security agents have been working, so very well, cooperating. The community, they are our traditional rulers. They have been working with us. We are called them partners in progress because they are close. They are the one in the far and remote area where their domains are. So they have been working with the DPOs, with the DSS. You know, they have DSS personnel in every local government. They've been working, gathering intelligence, working together to ensure that lives, the people's, lives and property are protected.
Governor Ayedatiwa, are you worried of what we're hearing? A few arrests that we saw in Lagos State of some very suspecting persons with their vehicles, and the incident that happened in Oyo State, see within the Southwest, and you're bordered by many states, by Ekiti, Edo, Delta, Osun State, and one we wonder that Ondo State seems to stand as a transit point also for so many of the states. And on this other side, you're bordered on the sea, by the sea. You have a very strong water body in the largest side of Ondo State. And when we hear about the kind of attack that happened in Oyo State, does it trigger you as a government to say the kind of what we saw in Owo in 2022 should never happen again? Are you tightening your security measures to ensure that if what some people are suspecting about the influx of terrorists towards the Southwest region is being curtailed? Are you speaking with, for example, governors within the Southwest region? Are you having a meeting within the region? What are the steps? Because Southwest citizens are asking the question, are their leaders awake to what has become another contemporary terror on their hands?
Like I said earlier on, we must give credit to Mr. President for the political will, the bold steps and courage, the backing given to the security agencies to go all out, to engage with the security, with the criminals anywhere they are found, anywhere they are. And a lot of achievements, a lot of successes that has been made. Now, for us in Ondo State and other Southwest states, yes, we stand in as gateway. Ondo State is like gateway to the Southwest because we bordered a lot of other states from other parts of the country, Kogi, the North Central, Kwara. We're not bothered to Kwara directly, but Ekiti is close to us, and then Osun, we border Ogun, and so on. You see, a lot of activities, engagements are going on in our forest reserves that it doesn't come to the public and the news. So much work is being done. Security is one responsibility, that leaders carries, that it's not so visible to everybody. It's only when there is a lapse or a kind of incident that happens, it will look as if the government has not been doing enough. We have been doing so much. I will give you an example. I think it's about 3 or 4 months ago. Some youth, about 5 of them, they wanted to bomb the government house. They were in a hotel. They later moved into a rented apartment, and they have all the equipment, all the gadgets. Then intelligence, we got an intelligence report, and the police and the Amotekun moved in. They busted them in the house where they are. They were arrested. They are still in detention right now. Their mission was to bomb the government house. For what reason? Only God knows. So we are working. Like I said, maybe if one incident happened, it doesn't mean that Seyi Makinde has not been working. The other day I was listening to, we spoke, I called him. He said he has lost about 200 Amotekun personnel. It was not in the news because they were engaging. But they were able to succeed at Orire local government and, abducted those school children. It looks as if the state was porous. No, they look for soft targets to operate. So what I'm saying in essence is that we are talking to ourselves, we are working. Yeah. The chairman of Southwest Governors Forum, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the other day we had a meeting in Oyo State in Ibadan, where we try to map out what we need to do together to be able to secure the southwest geopolitical zone, especially with our security network, Amotekun. Don't forget we have Amotekun in Ondo State, in Oyo State, in Ekiti State, in Ogun State. It's only in Lagos State they don't have Amotekun per se, but they have their own security.
But Governor Ayedatiwa, my worry is that since the Oyo incident, do you have fears within your the League of Governors in the Southwest there might be creeping situation or scenario of these terrorists towards the Southwest? Do you have that kind of intelligence?
It is not about fear now. You cannot say we are not afraid of bandits or terrorists, because we get reports several times they have sent letters, they are coming to attack. Several times we get intelligence they will come to attack, and we always prepare. Every day we prepare, every 24/7 we are at alert. It doesn't mean because they were able to now succeed in one location, fear begin to grip our heart. No, because we've been hearing about this. It's not new. We've been tackling this since the day when they came in on the 5th of June to attack Owo. Since then, we've raised the standard, security standard in the state.
But Governor Ayedatiwa, you remember what your principal fought for, especially the Amotekun Corps. He said he wanted them to carry sophisticated weapons, and he disagreed with the federal government, although they are members of the same party at the time. The former governor, Akeredolu, senior advocate of Nigeria, who said that it is not in the spirit of federalism when states are not able to, in full weight of the law and capacity, secure their own territory. He fought for state policing. He says that different federated units should be able to have full control of their own security. And he was saying that Amotekun Corps should be allowed to carry sophisticated weapons. Are you in the same line of belief or of this kind of idea with Governor Akeredolu, late Governor Akeredolu?
Of course, we were together when he was making those statements, and I concurred 100%. That is the way to go. And because we are not been permitted up to now to carry sophisticated weapons, that is why we have been collaborating with the military for our operation, the civil defense and the police, because the law permits those ones to carry, regular AK-47 and other weapons that can be used. Because the arms that are allowed for Amotekun to use cannot be compared to what these criminals are carrying. So nobody wants to, risk his life that way. So we have to work with the military. Our Amotekun, they are very brave. They because some of them are local hunters that were recruited. They know the terrain in the forest. They can move. They are very bold and courageous, so they can lead. While the military are there with them and the police, in terms of exchange of fire, with the criminals. So, but the clamor for state police is to be able to allow the local security agents to be able to carry sophisticated arms, because police have been allowed. So if the law, passed through the National Assembly and state police is allowed, which the federal government, the president, like I said, has also, in principle, let me put it that way, has been saying that should be. He has already given consent to it that there should be state police.
All right, Governor Ayedatiwa, quickly.
It's like a sample.
Yeah, there was an incident earlier today in Akure where you saw students scampering, whether or not confirmed or rumor. Part of what you said that terrorists are sending messages that they are coming to attack. What report do you have, Governor, as to that situation in that school? Because parents were seen rushing to collect their words from the school. What do we know now about that incident earlier today in Akure?
Yes, there was a fake, there was a rumor, which is a total falsehood, that terrorists are threatening to come into Akure to attack, to go to school. This is not new, this is not the first time in fact, there was a time there was a leakage, intelligence leakage, when the DSS were trying to send a message, a report to the military because there is a collaboration and intelligence sharing, and that they needed to send the report to the military that there will be terror attack in some location that the military should brace up, and that thing, got to the public one way or the other, and the whole state started panicking. I have to address the people that there's nothing, this is just normal intelligence gathering. We hear this every day. Even some churches, some so-called prophets, will go on social media. During the Salah period, we were told on the social media, everywhere, published, that there will be terror attack between Wednesday and Friday of the Salah festival week. And nothing happened. Everybody went about to the Eid praying ground to pray. I was there. In fact, that day I even commissioned Eid praying ground in Owo. And I went to even present staff of office to a traditional ruler in another community. That was the day we even have Children's Day celebrated in Akure. So we have all kinds of news and rumors. Some people are just, that was why I said they should put politics aside. Why would people should circulating fake news to create panic in the system? It is not right.
All right. Governor, I hear that
it's not right. That happened this morning, and some parents, because of what happened at Oyo in Orire local government, when they went to that school. So for those who knew what happened in Orire local government at that school, they begin to be afraid that such can happen anywhere. That was why the parents were going to the school to pick up
Governor, I hear that quickly. I need to go on a break just for a moment.
It's just unfortunate,
Governor,
that the society we are in this day of social media, fake news just move everywhere, and people that are faint-hearted will just get panic, and we see this every day. We hear this every day. I receive intelligence report every day.
Quickly,
from the
Governor,
security agencies and from public. Like I have people, surveillance people in every local government, every ward that are working with me. All my SCs and SSA, they are cut across the state, and I get report of what's happening in every ward, not even local government. That is the reason why I'm appointing 1,000 SC and SSA. Part of their job is to remain in their wards and in the rurals to be able to get information about what is happening. More of it is of security.
All right, Governor, just for a moment, because we are due for a break. Governor, if you can hear me quickly, there's a controversy about the cenotaph that was erected in the honor and memoriam of the... All right, Governor, let's take a quick break. And when we return, more on what has happened today and the implication for our country. We look at the legal side of it and we conclude our conversation with Governor Ayedatiwa. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. We've been speaking with the governor of Ondo State, Lucky Ayedatiwa. But just for a moment, before I go back to him, there are legal perspectives to all of these, and there are also implications. I don't know if Governor Ayedatiwa can hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Sure, I can hear you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Before we conclude the conversation, the cenotaph, which was erected in honor and the memorial of those who were killed and that incident in the war, it was demolished by your government. And there are those who are confused and wondering, why would your government do that? Can you clarify that tonight, Governor?
Thank you, Sheol. Our people has a tradition. That center wasn't approved by the government when it was constructed. There was an issue at the time, and don't forget, it was the period when the governor was very ill and no proper, and also I was, you know what happened during that time when I was also being attacked and about to be impeached. So there were there was a total breakdown, and the Olowo has a tradition that you don't put senator in front of the palace. And that land actually belonged to the Olowo of Owo, and the issue has been there. But for some reason, some actors in government at the time, because of the issue they had with the Olowo, went ahead to call his bluff and went and built that, cenotaph in front of the palace, which is a taboo. And there was no proper documentation, no acquisition. The government did not acquire the land from him for public use and all of that. So, and that was generating a lot of issues, and the whole lot of people were protesting. And because that place was never commissioned by government, it was not a government, a project, as it were. And, like the law says, whoever owns the land owns what is on it. So I wasn't the one that ensured that it should be demolished. The owner of the land felt that this is my land, and I need to take over my land.
All right.
Governor
Ayedatiwa, that said, I'd like to know, on the final note tonight, just in about 40 seconds, as your final thought on the program tonight, if there was one big lesson, because after 9/11, America learned a very big lesson, how terror came on their land. For Ondo people, and you as a person, what would you say is the biggest lesson that will help secure the people of Ondo State? Just in 40 seconds, please.
Security alert. We're vigilant. Don't forget that when the Kwara incident started, bring up, I recruited 500 personnel to join our Moteco to further strengthen their operations. So for us in Ondo State, we are at alert, we are vigilant, and we are resilient. So the lesson is that don't lose your guide. Just be at alert at every point in time. When you see something, say something.
Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, our heart stay with the people of Ondo State. And I want you, I'm going to encourage you tonight. I know you have a lot of following on social media. And so that everyone, all of your essays and the traditional rulers and all of that, I'm going on social media to begin a campaign to say, unite against terror. I would like you, Governor Ayedatiwa, tweet it tonight, put it on your social media to say, unite against terror. All of Nigerians need to come together, and we need to do so. We need to come together and fight these terrorists. They cannot defeat us, I believe.
I agree with you.
Thank you so much.
We must all unite to fight terrorism.
I appreciate it. Yeah. We cannot end this program by not giving you some legal perspectives to these, and that's why I pleaded with Dr. Charles Omole, who is a lawyer, a security consultant, a PhD, of course, not just a Dr. Charles Omole joins me now virtually on the program. Thank you so much for taking this time. I know it's a difficult moment to get you, but thank you so much for accepting to come on. Thank you. And when I was speaking with some of our friends within the DSS, just to get the intelligence of what really happened and all of that, I understand that they lost about 2 officials in the Papiri attack and when they were trying to chase after these terrorists. These guys are really closing ranks. They are going everywhere in the country. And that's why tonight I said we need to unite against terror. Whatever the problem is, and we are finding solution, or whatever be the case, let Nigerians, whatever we can do now is to unite. But legally speaking, what do you make of today's judgment, Dr. Charles Omole?
Well, I mean, the judgment is a sound one. I mean, one would have preferred the judgment to have occurred much earlier. I mean, the incident happened 4 years ago. We have to praise the DSS and the security agencies for tracking these people down, because you have to understand that unlike kidnappers, these people are Islamic terrorists. So they were not in or to kidnap anybody. They were just there to terrorize people, to kill people. So, it's just one of those on the bandwidth of criminality happening in Nigeria. You have the bandits, you have the terrorists, then you have the Islamist terrorists. So they are on the very terrible end of that scale. Their job, their purpose was to kill. They were not interested in money. They were not interested in ransom or anything. They just wanted to kill. So I think the judgment is well-fitted, and our security agencies need to be praised for that.
Do you think that this could be a deterrence to those who are thinking that they may not be caught because, yes, DSS did the tracking, caught these people, did more investigation, they are linked to ISWAP, this terror element and their gangs. Do you think that this judgment of today will send some kind of warning to them?
Well, in a way, yes. But you see, because when you look at the pathology of such crime, the more people are neutralized, the more people are captured and prosecuted, the less of these activities will take place. Best practice all over the world tells us that if, for example, you have 100 people in a country, those 100 people could be carrying out every single terror activities across the country. So part of the, I think maybe what the frustration of many Nigerians, including myself, is over the years, what we see is negotiation with these terrorists. They will release the people they capture, but they will leave the terrorists alone. So those people they left alone, give them another few weeks, they'll go and, they'll go back out and kidnap more people. So we should have a situation where if you kidnap, whichever way we extract the people you are kidnapping, you cannot go away scot-free. It's either you are captured and prosecuted or you are neutralized. Because if you keep leaving them, as appeared it was happening, many years back, these same people will go back and commit more crimes.
And that's exactly the point. There are a lot of Nigerians who are saying some of these criminals are even being forgiven in some time past. They will say they bring them back, they are grooming them, they are this, and they wear white clothes for them and wear white cap for them, and they send them back into the community. Oh, they are repentant. But what we have seen recently, we've seen the Rukuba terrorists, some of them are being tracked. We've seen these the prosecution happening. There was a woman, Alima, that was also being arrested. And a lot of these arrests are being made recently. And what actually gives me some kind of comfort, although my next question will be the closure. The comfort I have is that they are being prosecuted, rather than where we say the arrests are being made and we don't hear anything. But now we are seeing arrests and prosecution. But who will sign the death warrants on these ones? Because you know that there's a global moratorium on death, on sentence of death globally. There is that understanding. But do you think President Tinubu, when this is laid to rest, legally speaking, should immediately sign the death warrant for this one to be taken out, so that all of their friends and gangs will know that it's game over?
Well, I mean, if precedent is to be considered, I don't see this matter ending under the presidency of President Tinubu, because their lawyers today spoke about appealing to the appeal court. And of course, once if they fail there, I'm presuming they would then go to the Supreme Court. That journey alone could take another 4 or 5 years, for all we know. So we don't know really who will be the president at the time the final verdict will be rendered, which will be the Supreme Court here. But yes, whoever is the president, yes, clearly enforce the law. Although in Nigeria, we don't have a good history of that. There are people who have been sentenced to death for over 10 years who are still there in death row. I think there's a case of a guy who was the head of a Christian group or a church group that was, I can't remember his name, that was sentenced to death for almost 15 years now, and he's still there. So I'm not quite sure why, those sentences are never carried out. But I'm sure whoever the president is, when the final verdict is reached on this, will make the right decision to deter these people, because they've taken human lives and therefore they have to pay for their crimes.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Omole. On the short notice, you're helping out, legally speaking, on this one, and I appreciate your thought. I think time is right for us to have a 1 hour long conversation on the issue of security, especially policing. Is the way the new IGP going about it, is it the right way? How do we really confront these, especially within the federating units, and how this can happen? I think its time is right. Please get yourself to the studio and let's do that, Dr. Charles Omole. For many times.
No problem. Thank you.
I appreciate it. My heart goes out to those who have been in the front lines, in the military, in the police, in the DSS, who have lost their lives. Don't forget that it's not only innocent civilians who are losing their lives. Our gallant officers and men are also losing their lives, and our heart goes out to them and their families tonight, as we also are reflecting on what the court has said today. But as government, they need to brace up and do the right thing and get their acts together. But as we Nigerians, we need to unite against this terror. They cannot defeat us. We can, as a people, come together. All you politicians, gather yourself and let's speak as one against terror. That's how we leave it tonight, everyone. Let's unite against terror. I'm Seun Okimaloye. God bless Nigeria.